Hello, witches. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Witches Movie Coven. Yes, witches and goats talking about witches and sometimes goats in movies and occasionally television. Thrilled to have you here. We've been doing this quite some time, but let us introduce ourselves now. I am one of your hosts. I am Patti Negri. You might know me from The Witching Hour, from television, from YouTube, and as I always say, from bathroom walls across America, or my books, Old World Magic of the Modern World, or Dollcraft, or bathroom walls across America. That's going to be my repeat show because I've seen my name on bathroom walls across America. But thus I go backwards. Let me move it on over to the smiley today, Richard-Lael.
I am smiley today. Why? I don't know why. It's Wednesday with my favorite witches. So yes, hi, I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. My bathroom walls across America joke is that if I were just Richard, I'd be 8.
You almost let me down.
I know. I know. I almost did. I am known as the gentleman psychic. I'm a psychic medium. I used to be a psychic small, but I gained some weight. I'm working on that. You might have seen me on Ghost Adventures. You might have seen me one time hosting on America's Next Top Model. You might have seen me in all kinds of places. But what's really important is that if you want to sleep with me, you can go right over here and you can get a pillow with my face on it. Someday you'll be able to get into Patty's panties again. But if you join us at Mystery Control, you can be a bro witch. You can get quotes. You can not mind it like Heather. You can get our books. Like us, follow us, comment. They do help us tremendously. They help us keep giving great performances for viewers like you.
Thank you very much. And now to our Golden Locks lover, Jason Mankey.
Lover? Well, I did dial that 867-5309 Patti Negri number. That came up. I'm Jason Mankey. I write books about witchcraft. I have written 10 of them, and I'm almost done with my 11th. And I was gone for 2 weeks, and I missed you all so much, and I'm so glad to be back.
Yeah, we missed you madly. Now, as you can see, we have no Heather this week. She is recuperating from world travels. We have no Courtney this week. She's probably been eaten by her dragons, but hopefully she will be back. But we have two of our very favorite regular fill-ins. Let's start out with Jenny Seabell.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Seabell. I am the author of 2 books, Divergent Witchcraft and Spirit Crystals. I have just submitted my 3rd, so I'm catching up slowly to Jason. And you can find me here. You can find me on Belief, Being, and Beyond, which is also on YouTube.
Thank you very much. And last and never least, the beautiful Scarlett Amaris.
Hi, I'm Scarlett Amaris. I am a screen and television writer. I've done numerous movies, also write books, and we'll have another book out hopefully soon. So I will never catch up to Jason. But anyway, I'm thrilled to be here and to be talking about witches with you all.
Thank you. Now, this week's movie it's The Devil's Backbone. It's from 2001, but we have something very, very special we want to talk about a little bit. Hopefully you guys all watched last week's movie. Well, our very own Scarlett, the mother of flies, Scarlett just interviewed with the Addams family. So tell us what happened.
I was really nervous, and they're the most amazing people ever. Like, they were absolutely lovely. But we got to talk about witches, and we got to talk about mythology, and we got to talk about their creative practice. We got to talk about how they come up with their ideas, like how they film things, this idea of faith underneath it all, what the archetype of the witch is. Like, it's a long, beautiful conversation through, with some of the most inventive and fearless filmmakers there are right now, who have been prolific in the last few years. Like, I'm a huge fan, so to talk with them, it was just absolutely amazing. Oh, and to talk about animism in witchcraft too. So if you're into creativity and you love Mother of Flies like how we all did, then you'll get to hear some of what went into that and how to create your own mythology and what that looks like.
Thank you. And so we will be airing some of that, right? We taped it. our producer taped it, and
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
So it's gonna. I think it's gonna be airing next week. After the witch, I believe. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's airing next week after next week's episode.
Okay.
Hopefully.
You guys don't want to miss it. I can't wait to miss it. I don't want to miss it because
Oh my gosh, they're beautiful. Everything that they had to say was fascinating. Like they could not have been more lovely or better. Like you're gonna love it. You're absolutely gonna love it.
thank you. Okay. Now, also, I didn't forget, but didn't have the chat room open. Thank you, our other Coven member, beautiful Tabitha Meadows. She is running our chat room for it. We love her madly. And of course, our producers, Rob and Christine in the background, keeping us here, keeping us centered with our eyeballs in the hole right where they're supposed to be, more or less. So thank you all. So this week's movie, look at you, Jason. It is
Witchcraft.
Devil's Backbone. It was a long movie. It was in Spanish. It was a subtitled movie. We did by Guillermo del Toro. I watched it very late at night and I stayed awake. So there's something to that. So who wants to start out something about the movie? Does anybody have anything about the movie? Heather, like Richard-Lael.
I do actually have things about the movie. I wasn't.
I forgot your synopsis. Oh, I'm so
okay. I'm here now, and I'm going to do the synopsis. But I've got some Heather things too.
Okay,
so
synopsis from Heather
things. But I will say that Guillermo del Toro said that this was his first film. He actually had done a couple of films before, but they failed. I can't remember now the names of what these movies were, but they weren't. This was the late '90s. Nothing was really working well. He thought he was going to leave Hollywood, and he had a chance to work with Quentin Tarantino, and then The Devil's Backbone became what he called his first film and his introduction into other movies. It is in Spanish, as you stated. What I also liked was the dedication to his parents. So I thought there were some beautiful elements to it. The CGI for being 2001 was not so bad. It was when you look at
really
other
great.
Really great. The ghost boy, he becomes sort of translucent, and his blood, he's got a head wound, and instead of his head wound bleeding down like you would think that it would, it actually sort of floats in this ethereal way, depicting the manner in which his body was disposed, and where he was haunting and a little terrifying. You also felt sorry for the specter, and you actually felt that he was not menacing to anyone other than the person who deserved it. So really good film about in 2001. Great film in that. But now let me do my sit up. So those were a few things that were not quite to Heather's degree, but a few things about the film in case you had not known. But so the film is, like I said, 2001. It takes place in the 1930s during the Spanish Civil War. And a boy is, unbeknownst to him, being dropped off at an orphanage where sometime in the past, a bomb had been dropped but not detonated. And they said it was deactivated, but it was too heavy to be moved. And so we are introduced to this cast of characters as the boy is walking through, and we find out that one of the men who were out working had been at one time, he had been a pupil or a student or had lived inside of this orphanage, but he had returned with nefarious intentions with a couple of guys who were up to no good. They started causing trouble in the neighborhood. So this guy returns with a couple of other guys, but he works inside the school. Meanwhile, the headmistress, she's married to the doctor, and she herself she's an amputee, so she has one leg that has been amputated. The boy gets abandoned, left behind. As he runs out, his suitcase breaks. The doctor comes to sort of rescue him because it was really It was a hard time for him. The kid proceeds to get made fun of for being effeminate and being too posh, when all of the other boys were a little bit more rough and tough. As it turns out, we find that there is, in fact, a specter that they call the boy who sighs. His name is Santi. We find that later on. He was actually he had slept in the same bed where this boy, our hero, was currently sleeping. And Santi had disappeared sometime before. People thought that maybe he had wandered away and died, or they thought perhaps someone had gotten to him, or something had happened, or maybe he lived a happy life and was in another town. But as we find out, the older man, who had been a former pupil of the school, actually had much more to do with the death of Santi than he originally had let on. That man was also having an affair with the doctor's wife, the headmistress, with the amputee. And he was sort of seeing one of the young women who worked in the school. And his intentions were nefarious. His intentions were to steal gold that was hidden somewhere within the confines of the school. As it turns out, he's driven away, and then he comes back and he causes an explosion. And then he and the fellows dig through the rubble to try to find the gold. They can't find it anywhere. Meanwhile, the Horace and Wallace and Gromit, whatever they were, the other guys' names, they end up by leaving. Clearly, that was a waste of time. The explosion has killed several of the boys and has killed all of their caretakers. So it's death. Also, the Santi had come several times to warn, you're going to die. There's no getting around it. Many of you are going to die. Good luck. So the boys then have fashioned a way to sort of get back at their captor, and who finds the gold in the wooden leg, by the by. So they lure him into this sort of trap, and where he raises the weapon to send them to their otherworldly, when he wants them unalived, they are stabbed, as was foreshadowed, by fashioned spears, as the cave dwellers that they studied earlier in the show. They stab him under the arm, and then they gather him, they corner him. Santi, the ghost, had wanted, the only thing he'd wanted was to be reconnected with this man who had brought the end to his life. And so, wounded, this man has fallen into this big vat of water, and he's, of course, weighted down with all the gold. And Santi is there to receive his friend, and they are reunited, so to speak. And as we go towards the end, the boys have escaped, those few who have remained. They have escaped, and they are wandering out into the desert, a 2-day walk, and they are met by the specter of the doctor, who in turn says that he is a ghost. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, and for it, the scenery is part of the film. The dust is part of the film. The castle or wherever they lived is part of the film. The orphanage. So, yeah. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Please do.
So, I mean, it's Guillermo's film. Like, it's going to be beautifully crafted because that's what he does. But I found myself like, they're afraid of this boy of size, and it's like the mother of size. Like, I love this whole idea that he's leading up to in this premise, and like, a whole bunch of you are going to die, but like, that none of the ones you care about are going to die. Like, it didn't fulfill what it was promising to do. It could have been a lot scarier. And I think it is a beautiful ghost story, but like, I kept wanting it to be a little bit more of a gut punch from like, I wanted that threat to be played out a little bit more, because I had a sense that, you know, going through it, that the doctor was gonna end up probably coming back, and he sets them free, and yes, he's the ghost, and some of the boys get free, but like, I don't know, I just wish that there had been one more twist. I wish that there had been fulfillment to that whole buildup of like, you guys are all gonna die, and then it's like, well, no, a couple of us will die, but like not all of us, and we're gonna get out of here. But maybe that's just me being cranky. I don't know.
To me, there's just so much stuff. I mean, how much water there was, and water's like representing the orphanage, was like representing this space in between, not a liminal space, but just like limbo. And the bomb was like a character in itself, this big old bomb there, it breathed. So I didn't get disappointed like you that I was waiting for more scary things to happen. I was just trying to figure out all the stories that were going on and what they meant. Who was the ghost wasn't a bad ghost. The ghost was along the way, but the bad guy was a really good bad guy. He was a really good bad guy.
What I liked about his portrayal was something that you don't see in the film. We discuss a little bit that he discovers photographs and pamphlets and vacation photos from his family in the vault where there should have been gold. And he's going through, this was my mother, and this was my father, and that's me, and I'm a baby, and all of these things. And he does have some feeling in his portrayal. Now, it is not discussed what brought him there. It is not discussed what his parents did that landed him there. There's nothing is discussed. However, to the credit of Guillermo del Toro did know. Del Toro told this actor what had happened so that the actor could understand for his own sake. But nobody else knows.
Yeah, he does that as far as I know from interviews with him. He does that for all movies, all characters. He gives them like a very like detailed backstory of like to make it as rich and as real as possible. Like this is your whole backstory, which I feel like sometimes like you can really see it through his movies. Like it feels real. What I like about him and his films are his intersection of like folklore, folktale, fairy tale, innocence, and childhood, and then there's like an element of horror, and that's like in all his movies. And that really resonates with me. I saw The Devil's Backbone after I saw Pan's Labyrinth, and I thought it was so good that I forgot I was reading. And to me, that's like the mark of a really good foreign film, is that like I forget I'm reading and I'm like, oh, I guess I know Spanish. Like I'm just so into the film. And so I felt that way. I personally wish there were more ghost stories like this. I like that it's not a horror movie, that it's more of a sad telling of a ghost. I feel like, I don't know, there's something different about that. Like so many ghost movies are just kind of goofy, like Ghostbusters and Casper, which I like those too. And then some are so horrifying. This is like doing something on its own. It's more like, having taught folklore and studied Mexican folklore, it's very Mexican in the way the story comes through. It's so sad. And it's more about the sadness and you feeling sad for the ghosts and you rooting for the ghosts and then you really being afraid of the ghosts. And I think that I felt fresh because I saw this movie, I don't know, early 2000s. And so it felt like I've not seen anything like this before early on in my viewing of movies. And I still think it's kind of a standout.
I think most... Oh, no, please. It's all right. I think most everything we watch, the supernatural entities are the bad guys, right? And people are fighting the supernatural entities. And really, this movie, the bad guys are human beings. And the ghosts are part of the story, but the real story is how terrible people can be sometimes. And that's what I appreciate. I like that kind of story. I like that the ghosts aren't scary ghosts. They just have a way, they just are there because they're trapped or whatever else, right? I mean, that is how we probably interpret ghosts. this is a soul where something bad happened to them and they're stuck there. It doesn't necessarily make them evil. And I think it's refreshing when we get to see a ghost in a positive light that is not Casper, the friendly ghost, right? He's a creepy looking little boy, but he's on your side because something terrible happened to him.
But what does the devil's backbone have to do with this movie? Like, I know they explain it as the thing in the jar, but like, what does it have to do with the movie? I know that this was actually a different movie before that, and they had to tack that on. But like, that also kind of bugged me.
That was the one
read-
I pulled was from that. I don't know if you want me to read it. It's from the beginning of the film, and I think the Scarlett's referring to. It's like the one moment that they share it, so I could read that now. It says, it's just like at the very beginning of the film. So it says, "What is a ghost? A tragedy condemned to repeat itself time and again, an instant of pain, perhaps. Something dead, which still seems to be alive, an emotion suspended in time, like a blurred photograph, like an insect trapped in amber." And that's when you see the fetus with like a spiky spine is in the beginning, and then that later is in there. But yeah, I know what you mean.
It's a bit of a stretch.
The film was originally meant to take place in Mexico, and then they changed it around. And in Mexico, there's a mountain range called the Devil's Backbone. So that's really where the name comes from. And then I think they must have just really liked the name and tried to work it in, because it does seem to be a misnomer, because there's no devil in this. But everybody does have a backbone. And the kids find their backbone and their spine when they sharpen their sticks and go, I don't know, I kind of thought they went Lord of the Flies on that guy at the end, and of course you're cheering them on because he's a terrible person.
And I love the little boy, little Carlos. He was a smart kid. How he even handled the bullies and didn't handle the bullies and all that. I was impressed with the character that they gave that little boy who didn't even know his daddy was dead.
He won so many awards in 2001 for that role.
Did he? That does not surprise me.
Many awards. I don't remember how many, but from what the interview that I listened to, not that I'm an expert, but he won so many awards for that role. The problem was this came out. It premiered September 10th, 2001. September 11th, of course, 2001 is a day that has lived in infamy. And he at first thought, well, maybe I should pull it. Maybe I should hold back. And then he thought, you know what? War is tragedy. War, pain, it's real. And it would be dishonest if he held it. So kudos to him. He actually did let it go. It went on the international circuit. The film itself won numerous awards. And then the kid who played Carlos won the best child actor in a film or something along those lines. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the ghosts, though, because we were on that topic of ghost. And sometimes they will show you how they died. They will show you where they are. A few years ago, Patti and we were in Virginia City, Nevada, and I was doing a tour of one of the mines. And I happened to be walking by, and I saw this man that had his face was black. It was not his skin color. It was just all of that mining, and he had a monkey. And I said, "It was the guy with the monkey?" And he's, "I'll tell you after everyone goes." As it turns out, this man in the 1870s had owned the mine. He thought that dynamite was safe. And so he had this pet monkey. The monkey, he fell asleep with the dynamite under his bed, and the monkey blew them up and killed them. So he was showing me the way that he died. It was just, he was sort of trapped in that moment of like, well, great. I can't even wash my face. Great. This is great.
I'm stuck here. Right. No, they do.
And make no mistake. That was a monkey, not a Mankey. All right. It was a monkey. It was not a Mankey. It was not one of my ancestors or relatives. It was a monkey.
That was the monkey.
It was a monkey.
So, and I like the way they portrayed, the orphanage. It looked so I mean, not a place you really want to grow up with, besides the dust and the dirt and the no food and the no water. Yeah, lots of water, no food. Um, just the desolateness of it in the middle of nowhere. And it does look like we were showing pictures earlier in the background of a castle that some of us have been to, Preston Castle in Northern California, and built about the same time. And it looks very much like that. The beds were separated and so cold, and there was nothing warm within this place to bring life or a homey feeling to it. And I met many ghost spirit children hanging out at Preston Castle in Northern California when I was there too. So
Spirit children are oftentimes the hardest because they really are still children. Years ago, when I lived in Las Vegas, a friend of mine lived just off of Desert Inn, just off of the Strip, but off Desert Inn, in one of the suburban areas behind. Well, I think it would be closer to the Wynn, but anyway, behind the Strip. And 1950s ranch house. It was built in about 1949, 1950. Rambling, ranch house. And I walked in, and there was, he said, "Oh yeah, this is the kitchen, and we've redone the living room." And I walked past a hallway, and I saw this little boy dressed in 1950s like a cowboy. He stuck his head out from behind one of the doors and then went back in. And I went, "Tell me about the hauntings you have here." And he said, "Well, I wouldn't call them hauntings." He says, electrical things we have, like, the television will come on and we'll turn it off and it'll come on, or we'll come home and the television is on, or sometimes the lights will flicker. And I said, "Well, you have a little boy, and I feel like, like polio, and I feel like it's like the early 50s, and I saw this kid in the back room." And he said, "It's really funny you should say that, because we bought this house from the original owners, and or the son of the original owners, or there was a brother or a child. I can't remember now the direction of the story, but there was a young boy who had lived in that back room, and he had died of polio, and he was still there playing tricks and wanting to watch television. So it's really hard to deal with, because they sort of get stuck in that.
they did. We had them wanting to play ball with us when we were at the Preston Castle, not in Spain, but in Northern California. These little boys, literally, we had little cat balls which light up when ghosts do it, but we literally could see how they just played little kid ball games with us. And it was sweet and sad at the same time, very sweet and sad.
Very sad.
I don't think that they were stuck there. I think that they hung out there because that's the life they knew. And not even that they died there. I think maybe, whatever their life didn't get any better along the way. And once they passed, let's go hang out there. I think that's even the same, like all the spooky places we go with paranormal, like the prisons and the insane asylums. And not all the spirits are stuck there. Some just, it's the life they knew.
There was one more ghost story, if I may. I know you were there at Pennhurst as well, but I was there with Elton and with Matt Rife. That's they're an aside. They're lovely. That was an aside, but I was there for them, with them, and I went into. They had me in Candyland at first, and I was down in the cellar. And they had the television Oculus with 1,000 words programmed. And they had the cat toys, and they had them inside balloons. And I sat down in the dark, and it was so cold. It was colder in the building than it was outside. It was so cold. And I said to the empty room, "Hello, my first name is Richard-Lael. It is so lovely to make your acquaintance." And that Oculus spat out, "Richard." And I said, "Yes, close. I know that you're not going to be able to say it from here.
Ghosts.
But close. It's actually Richard-Lael. It's one name." And then they start playing. They said, "It's birthday." They saw the balloons. Birthday. And I said, "Yeah, it kind of looks like a birthday with all of the balloons. It does look like a birthday." And then they started saying, "Sing." So I sang happy birthday. And then they said, "Quiet, listen." And then I'd hear footsteps off in the distance. And then what was funny is I wore my devil pin, and they'd say, "Ooh, devil, devil, devil." And I said, "Yes, but there's no need to be afraid of it. There's no need." And then they kept saying, "Vent, vent, cold, vent." And I said, "I can't turn on the heat. I can't turn on the heat. It's disconnected. What do you want? I can't." And then what really broke my heart was they started saying, "Bad kid, naughty child, bad kid." And I told whoever this was that they were not a bad child. No matter why they were there, no matter how long they were there, they were not a bad kid. They were just a kid. Yeah. And so I sat and talked to them. And then when Matt and the crew came back in, that the board said, I mean, the Oculus said, Oracle, Richard, and then the planchette moved to L. So they had learned to say my name, and it was really sweet.
That is so sweet. Oh my gosh. Candyland is crazy. I'm going to be doing a seance in Candyland with the Ghost Adventures guys next month that people can go to. I've done a lot in Candyland. It's crazy.
Did you see I left a Black Phillip there?
You did leave a Black Phillip there?
I did leave a Black Phillip.
I will go look for Black Phillip. I'll bring Black Phillip. And maybe I'll say, do you remember Richard-Lael?
Yeah. They'll remember. Happy birthday and the devil. They'll remember.
Okay.
You do not get forgotten.
That's what I was saying about this movie. Why I like it is because I feel like it's how I view ghosts. Like I love Santi. He's my favorite character, and he's good and he's sweet, and he just had something tragic happen to him, and all he wants is someone to communicate with him. And that's like, I think, like how most witches view ghosts and spirits and people who are stuck here, with empathy. Yeah. It's not with fear. And that's why I found this movie so refreshing, because I was like, oh, this is like what I actually practice and believe in. And I've never seen that in a film, because, you know, it wasn't hokey, and it wasn't like the movie Ghost I really like, but it's kind of silly and hokey. This was just more like, it felt real, and it felt like it was talking from a place of love and tenderness about the spirit. And I loved it. And for that reason, because I think it's not scary. And because most of us, I think, are not afraid of what other people would be like, ghosts or spirits. We're not afraid of them. It's like, that's just part of our liminality as witches, as part of our practice.
Right. Right. And I loved the Santi too. And he didn't just want the revenge. He wanted acknowledgement. That's what he was there for, acknowledgement. And then once Carlos wasn't afraid of him, it's just, yeah.
Well, you know, Patti, you and I have lived in Hollywood. I don't live there anymore, obviously, but used to live in Hollywood. When I lived in Hollywood, this is where I had my realization, not only about spirits in general, but about the human spirit more broadly. I worked in Hollywood. I worked, not only did I work in film and television, I was also a busker for many years, and I was very good at what I did. But, I was famously known for playing Willy Wonka, and here I am, custom clothing and antique clothing, and I, put a lot of effort into it. And it was what I wanted to do, because I wanted the freedom to be able to just sort of do what I wanted to do. Well, I have to admit that I was checked. My spirit was checked, because there was a person who was walking up and down the street screaming. And I turned to one of the people that I knew, and I went, "Oh, that's so weird." And he says, "No, I feel really badly for him. He's really trying to get attention right now. He just really wants attention." And I felt like I was an inch tall. I felt like I had failed as a human being. And I went to him, this person, and I gave him a couple of dollars. And I said, "Here, I want you to have this." And he said, "Oh, it worked. It worked. It worked. It worked." And from that vein, there was another woman who would stand on the street corner screaming at nobody, just screaming at the top of her lungs, screaming at nobody. And people would walk around her, and they would ignore her, and they would pretend she wasn't there, and they would look all the way around. They would do everything but look at her. And someone had told me that she went by the moniker of Cornbread. And I went to her and I said, Cornbread, what is wrong with you today? What is going on with you? And she said, well, I'm really hungry. So I bought her some food. And then as time went on, I'd give her a couple dollars here and there. And one day I was driving in my classic little roadster down Hollywood Boulevard, and I saw her, and she was, again, screaming at nobody. And I pulled over in that classic little antique car, and I said, Cornbread, are you hungry today? She said, well, I really am. And I said, well, how about this? Why don't you get in my car and I will take you wherever you want to go? What are you in the mood for? She said, oh, I'm looking for no accounting for taste. And I said, well, what is it specifically you want at this particular restaurant? Because I want to take you to someplace nicer than that. And how about we go to this other one that has that same food, but it's a little higher end? It's my treat. Don't worry about it. So we rode in that little classic roadster, and she waved, and people smiled, and she waved, and we got to the restaurant, and nobody ousted her. Nobody told her that she stunk. Nobody belittled her. Nobody cast her out. And she sat there and she ate and she enjoyed the moment. And then not long after that, I stopped seeing her out in the street. And I inquired, I said, what happened to Cornbread? I don't see her around anymore. And I was informed, I hope this was true, I was informed that she had gotten clean, she'd gotten sober, and she had gotten a gig where she was living in a hotel as a manager. So she's managing nothing big, just managing little things here and there. And someone had given her a room, and she had cleaned up her life. So what I had learned from the spirit world and from the human world is that the worst pain is to not be seen. The worst pain is to be ignored. And how many people who are sensitives go, no, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. It's not here. It's not here. It's not here. And the pain that must be. And when there's just a little bit of, I see you, I understand you, I know that you're here, and I respect you. I respect you as the person that you are, no matter if it is time slips or no matter if whoever you are, I respect you. And that makes the spirits move a little bit better than if you scream at them. If you scream at a person who's down on their luck, they'll probably scream back and then they might shiv you. So don't do that. Just acknowledge. Just acknowledge.
Acknowledge. We all want to be acknowledged. Thank you. Welcome back, Scarlett.
Thank you.
There's
I was
ghosts in her
limbo.
machine.
She goes.
I don't quite know what happened, but yes, I have a new iPad, so I'm still figuring it out. So it was a technological fail in some sort of capacity. So I missed what you were talking about. Something else I wanted to bring up is something that I thought was a really interesting, beautiful moment. Well, not beautiful, but an interesting moment was when the teacher leaves the school and she's gonna go walk, and you know that the town is like a day and a half's walk, and so you know that she's walked through the night and it's the next day and she's obviously thirsty, and then the truck comes up, and we know that truck, and we know who's in it, Pig, and I forget the other guy's name, but like when he comes out and her fiance comes out and says, you know, like, you're gonna bow to me now, like you're gonna do as I say, and that she continues to be rebellious to him and to be like, no, I'm not gonna do it, and then he shivs her, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's so brutal. Like that's such an incredible filmmaking moment. Like I didn't expect it to go there. I knew it would be something terrible, but like that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was more on what we were saying, like how the monster is not the ghost.
Yeah.
The monsters are the humans. And I love that about Guillermo's work in general, is playing with monster and who's the real monster, and what's real and what's reality, what's fake and what's a dream. And it makes you question. And I love that. And I also just want to say real quick about this film, I love the score. And
It's
I really
beautiful.
like his scores in general, I'm not one to pick up on movie scores very often, but with him, I'm like, oh, I really love the music for this part or this scene. And I really felt like it really spoke like another language, and it was really part of the whole look. The whole movie feels toned down and like kind of washed out in color, and on purpose feels muted. And then the music had a similar kind of ethereal vibe that I just thought was really beautiful.
I think you can tell in this movie too where he's really developing his craft, because some of his lighting looks like Lars von Trier's early work. I first came across Guillermo at the Palm Springs Film Festival, and it must have been for the one that he did right after this, the big one that he did, Pan's Labyrinth, and he was on, which I loved, and he was on stage afterwards with a critic, I think from the LA Times, a very like prim and proper guy, and Guillermo was like this ball of fire, and he was so excited, and he kept swearing, and every time that he would swear, you could see like the critic recoil, and so he would swear louder, and I was like, I really appreciate him from this, because usually everybody is talking about their films in such nice ways, and he was just like the stuff that was coming out of his mouth, it was fantastic, and you could tell how passionate he was. Like, he had a lot of respect for him for that.
It's beautiful. Anything else on
We
this?
haven't really heard from Jason much.
Love it.
All of you are saying everything that I want to say, so I didn't really have to do much heavy lifting. I wait until I hog the scene for 6 minutes at the end now. That seems to be my new modus operandi on the show, as my bit has got longer and longer. So just save it up. I will say though, Scarlett was saying she was surprised by that scene with the teacher walking out and running into her boyfriend. After watching Pan's Labyrinth, like, I can't be shocked anymore, because that movie just ripped my soul out so badly. And I had not seen this movie until watching it the other day, that I just assumed the worst the whole way through, that it wasn't the absolute heartbreak that I felt at the end of Pan's Labyrinth was actually a relief to me, because I was truly expecting, pretty much all of the children to die.
Well, I thought that would have been like I thought that's where it was going to go. I will say this about Pan's Labyrinth, and I know you guys have talked about it before, but from a writing standpoint, it's really interesting, because the most horrific things happen in the first act. And then everything after that is the result of that, which it's not quite as horrific, but the real violence is like immediately, like it comes in like a prize fighter throwing a punch. It's really like an incredible structure. This film was not quite that, but it had its moments. This is, like all of Guillermo's work, it's quite beautiful, and poignant. I think poignant is always a really good descriptive word for him.
Yes.
He's a filmmaker that you just like. I think probably everyone agrees with me, but there are certain filmmakers you cheer on and you want to do well and you feel attached to in a way. And I think in our house, he's one of those filmmakers. I mean, because we love Hands with Eyes on Them, especially. But there's just something about him that is authentic and unique to filmmaking that I just don't think we see enough of. Because when we see a Del Toro story now, we know that it's his. We know that it looks the way he wants it to. And he's a giant nerd and a giant geek. And I have to truly appreciate that.
But he also is very into magic, and he's very into fairy tales and alchemy. Like, there was a time when I would go to like get stuff and get all excited about a book about fairy tales and alchemy, and he had just read it, and I'd be like, okay, I'll get to the next one. Like he loves the craft of storytelling. Like, he loves the craft of folk tales and fairy tales. And I think that's something that a lot of writers and filmmakers do not have his depth or love, or of weird fiction. Like, like the breadth of what he knows about horror cinema and weird fiction it's incredible.
And to make new fairy tales. like Pan's Labyrinth is a new fairy tale. Yes, it has components of things, but also Devil's Backbone's like a new folktale. Like it has components of other things, but to do that now when there's just so much that's already been done, I just get amazed by that. And I think it's because of what you said, his breadth of knowledge. I know that he reads tarot. His mother read tarot. I know that he collects oddities. And he was very fascinated by sideshows as a child and circuses. And he collects memorabilia from that. And so all the jars and stuff, like he has those himself. And so it's like he is like a giant child that we're in his like imagination and we're getting to play with him. And I feel like that's what makes it so fun. As I age, I try to be more childlike. I'm like, as I get older, my childlike wonder and curiosity, I'm inviting her back. I'm like, no more of the seriousness, because that didn't really get me anywhere. And so I look at him as like inspiration. I'm like, I want to play. I get similar books that he has and I look through them for inspiration. It's just like this idea of creating from a real place of play and joy. And like, I love what I do. I admire that.
Do you have a favorite film of Del Toro?
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth. I actually have, personally, that's my favorite movie. And for my 40th birthday, this artist in Spain, Tomás Hijo, he did a giant wood block print like inspired by the movie, and it's hand colored and it's numbered. Guillermo has number 1. I have number 41. And I have it framed, and it's like my prize. Like we have a Halloween wall. All the art is inspired by being a witch. But that's my prize piece because it's like, you know, that's it. That's like that movie woke something up in me that never went back to sleep.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That is beautiful that you have rogue hair going on. We don't know what that means.
Rogue X-Men.
Oh,
She's got the streak. You do look very rogue-like. You just
Oh,
need to say sugar now. You got to say sugar.
Talking a little Southern accent. Right?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. That's good. All right. Do we have any quotes? Somebody had one quote.
I just had the one because,
The
you know, it's in Spanish. So
It is. Yes.
they're hard to remember when they're in Spanish.
All right. Then that means it is time for your 6 minutes of heaven, Jason Mankey.
It is, and this is, I think, a long one. Also, you all might be really mad at me for it too. We'll see.
No.
Yeah. So yesterday, I had a bunch of packages I had to mail out. So I was planning to spend my morning stuffing envelopes and checking mailing addresses. And part of that plan was to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and spend my morning working on those packages while also watching The Devil's Backbone. I really have been kind of checked out for a while, so I knew nothing about this movie. Didn't even know it was a Del Toro movie, which surprises me now. So imagine my surprise, and in this case, horror, when I found out that the movie was in Spanish and that the free version I had a link to on YouTube would take me nearly 2.5 hours to watch with commercials. And I need to tell you a few things. First, 2.5 hours is a lot of time. And I wanted to watch the free version of this movie because every August in my house is austerity August. Since August is the absolute worst month of the year, we try not to spend much money during this month as a form of silent protest against August existing. And saving $4 on a movie rental is the type of thing austerity August was truly built around. Do you think I'm drinking anything good tonight? No, absolutely not. This is like 6-month-old soda with sugar in it. Anyways, it's also important that you know that I think Spanish is a lovely language. It is far more pleasant to the ears than English, but I also don't know very much of it. And The Devil's Backbone being in Spanish absolutely ruined my morning plans because it meant I would actually have to pay attention to the screen at all times to keep up with the movie. There are lots of different ways to watch a movie, especially when you're at home. And very often, I think my movie watching style is what you might call distracted. Oh, I'm watching the movie, but I'm also reading about how I'm too mean to Donnie Diapers on social media. And then, of course, I'm also reading about superhero movies and football and Led Zeppelin and sharing texts with the Movie Coven. In other words, I'm doing several different things at one time. Tonight, when the show is over, for example, I'm going to finish up making my dinner, watch Ted Lasso, cuddle with my wife, and check baseball scores and pray that the Dodgers lose again, like you do. But you can't do that when the movie is in a language you don't know. So this all got me to thinking, what are some other movie watching styles? And because I've been doing this show now for 4 years, I think I know a few other styles. And that's because I've been able to piece together some of the things that my co-hosts have said over the years. So with no further ado, let me risk the wrath and indignation of all of you by sharing your movie watching styles. Up first, 2 a.m. on my phone after eating a gummy. This is the Patti Negri way of watching a movie. Have you ever seen Patti's schedule? Just thinking about it makes me tired, and I assume Patti watches everything for this show in the 4 hours between coming home from the Vampire Club and having to drive to LAX to board a plane at 5:30 a.m. to visit a haunted and decaying insane asylum 1,000 miles away. There's really no other way for Patti to watch a movie, so I completely understand this style. Next up is through tears of joy and triumph and being the best thing ever made. This is the Courtney Buckley way of watching a movie. It's finding the good in just about everything, except for the witch who came from the sea, and somehow being brave enough to declare that The Killing Tree is the best Christmas movie of all time. I assume these days Courtney is also distracted by lizards while watching things, but I'm guessing that only adds to her enjoyment of whatever we are watching for this show. Next up, movie watching is wholesome and nurturing and an experience that should be done with family in a setting that most would call bucolic. Jenny C. Bell has been on and off with us for over a year now, and I'm a fan, but I'm also thinking her movie watching style probably feels like being wrapped in a warm blanket full of love and kindness, kind of the exact opposite of mine, where whiskey tends to be a major concern. I'm very jealous of this style, but I also lack the discipline and maturity for a better approach to movie watching. This one takes a while. I pride myself on being an outstanding ritualist, but it also makes me a poor guest at the rituals of others because I'm making petty judgments the entire time I'm there. I have to imagine that it's got to be similar for Scarlett. This is what I call the I notice every plot hole and lighting mistake style of watching movies. I'm sure Scarlett also notices everything that's right about a movie too, but if I wonder if the mistakes nag at her and require something like a movie watching exorcism to get rid of them. Like if I actually knew how the sausage was made, could I sit through something like The Necromancer again? Probably not. And then that takes me to my absolute favorite style of watching movies. I call it, I'll watch this at twice the speed, and if I'm still bored after 20 minutes, I'll just read Wikipedia. Of course, that is the style of one Richard-Lael, and oh, how I wish I had the courage to adapt such a style, but I'm just not witty or clever enough to bluff the listener, and it's a skill I truly lament not having. I can't even fathom what Heather Green's style is. I assume she takes notes while watching every movie and then asks her army of haunted dolls for their opinions about the film she just watched. And all of that's fine because we all have our own ways of doing things. I just lament the days I actually have to pay attention.
And should I let you know now that it was free on Tubi?
Oh,
It was. And I do.
Yes.
I like
it's
cozy
too
blanket.
late. Also, the
It
Dodgers are
was
4 to
free
nothing.
on Tubi with no
The day gets
commercials.
worse.
The day gets
Yeah.
better.
I watched it on YouTube with both, I think, Arabic and English subtitles. So it was an experience for me in so many ways. But even the subtitles could not hide the beauty of the film.
Wow. Well, and while wrapping presents and mailing, that's pretty good.
No, I couldn't do that. I had to do it all separately because you can't have your attention.
You can.
You can't do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. We grab a wand. I'm going to grab a gun because it's kind of a war movie. It's my lighter.
Anything crazy.
Patty, what are you doing with a lighter, gun lighter? This is like the randomest thing ever.
Isn't it? It's good at ritual. It was a gift. I love it. But it's sitting on the desk or sitting on the coffee table. It looks kind of real to people like me who don't know anything about guns. Anyway, wands up, wands down, wands neutral, wands where? Is this an up, 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 up?
All up.
Wow.
Oh,
Da, 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 da. Did it? Wow. Okay, everybody in the chat room. One's up, horns up from Lord Kelvin. We got it up from Dawn. I'm look at this, a Spanish long film, subtitled, kind of long, and we've got all wands up so far. Ooh, how
especially long on YouTube.
In Arabic as well.
Yeah.
Wands up, wands up, wands up for Guillermo de Toro. Wands up. We got sparkles. I don't even know what that means, but I like it. We got sparkles
And lighters.
and lighters and sparkles. And so this is pretty good. So this cannot be our first. Okay, we got one neutral. Robert's a one neutral, because I want to say if this was our first wands up all the way, that would have been a first ever. And what an odd film to have as everybody unanimously wands up film. But we have a neutral, but it's still one of our highest wands up.
I didn't fall asleep. I didn't watch it at 3 times the speed. I didn't regret my $3.99 because I watched it on YouTube and not on Tubi for free.
Me too. All of the above. Did not fall asleep. No gummies. Lighters and sparkles. Oh my. So do we know what we're watching next week?
Maybe our producer can tell us.
Maybe our producer can.
Oh,
Gods, no.
Oh,
I want to come back. Invite me back.
I'm not gonna be here next week, so please.
That works.
I'm sick next week. I feel it coming on.
All right, everybody who isn't reading the board, because maybe they're doing something else they're mailing and didn't read. It is Twilight, because it is Courtney's birthday pick.
I think I got the black lung.
Right. Speaking of sparkles.
There you go.
Merman, Pop, Merman.
Okay, so everybody, Twilight next week. We got a couple minutes left. Does anybody have anything going on they want to talk about?
I'm going to be watching next week's movie at 3 times the speed. That's what I've got going on.
Okay.
That's
My
about it.
fantasy football draft is next week, so that's exciting for me.
All right. Well, this weekend I am heading to Virginia City again, Richard-Lael and Mackey Mansion. I'm going to have a whole fun weekend. 2 paranormal investigations, a haunted doll tea party, so you can get my book Doll Craft, and a seance, all at the beautiful, very haunted, oldest, biggest house in Virginia City. If anybody can get to Virginia City, which is way up there in Nevada, come join us. It's going to be really fun and really special and kind of intimate, because it's a house. It's not like a million people can come. So that's where I am. And that's it. Anybody else?
The premiere of my short series is Saturday at 8 p.m. on YouTube, Pacific Standard Time, which 4.5-minute shorts that I have been filming here in the Tower. So it's called The Tower, and it's all based around the history and mythology and ghost hunting in the Tower. So we will see how it goes. But yeah, this Saturday, 8 p.m. is the first one.
What channel? Like, where do we?
It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on my channel.
Your channel.
Yeah. And the first one is called The Seance, which Patty's in it.
Again, bathroom walls across America.
I know.
That is great. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see. I just know it's going to be beautiful. So can we one day do Scarlett's these on?
We'll wait till all 15 come out, and then there will be enough to like fill to fill an episode.
Okay.
I don't think that you guys could talk for an hour on 4.5 minutes.
You never know.
We can surprise you sometimes. Even if we watch it at 2.5 times the speed.
True. Just think that would be like a minute of your life.
Right. While bailing. All right, you guys, it is that time. Come back. You guys, as Richard-Lael said, Please like us. Please follow us. Check out Mystery Control. Check out the Witches Movie Coven. Check out each of us individual on social media, because it means the world to us, and it's just that's what you have to do in 2026. You can get yourself your very own Black Phillip on mysterycontrol.com, and you can cuddle like we cuddle. No matter how good or how bad the film is, we cuddle. So we have one more thing to do, because that's what witches do. 1, 2, 3. Join us.